Action! What's up, everybody, and how are ya? Welcome back to the Arya Habibi Show, and I just want to start by saying thank you to all of my subscribers because you guys have officially gotten me over 100 subscribers, which is absolutely amazing. Round of applause to you guys. Absolutely. You guys are amazing. I just found out that there's people watching me from Cuba, Mexico, Colombia, Dubai, Iran, just to name a few countries, and that's really cool to me. This is something I started doing just for fun, and to see that there's people who are watching and messaging me even saying like, when's the next episode, like, that means the world to me. So thank you so much to you guys. If you guys happen to miss last week's episode, it was all about video games, so I'm going to go ahead and leave that link right up here for you guys. In this week's episode, we're going to go ahead and take a look at some of my favorite movie directors. And when I say movie directors, I'm talking like Hollywood movies. I'm not talking like basically nothing to do with this guy. If this guy is in a movie and it's one of your favorite movies, I don't even know if we could still be friends. I'm talking about Hollywood directors, ladies and gentlemen, and keep in mind as well, this is a few of my favorite directors because there's so much talent out there that I can't necessarily fit all in one video. So don't get mad at me if I don't mention your favorite director. I'm probably going to make a part 2 of this as well. Some of you might not know this, but I actually have a background in broadcasting and film. I've been making videos for so long, and I've been an avid movie fan my whole life. So I just wanted to take some time and just kind of shine some light on some people who have inspired me and just people who have just wowed me overall over the years in Hollywood. So if you guys like this episode, go ahead and comment down below. Make sure you share the video, like the video, do all that good stuff. And ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, off to the video we go. Star Wipe.
Here comes 2!
Let's start with a fellow Canadian by the name of James Cameron. James Francis Cameron is a Canadian filmmaker and environmentalist. He is best known for making science fiction and epic films for the Hollywood mainstream. Cameron first gained recognition for directing the 1984 film The Terminator. Fun fact, did you guys know that the first Terminator was actually inspired by the first Halloween movie of 1976? Shocking. If you guys go back and take a look at the way that he actually, like, the Terminator walks and the way that he kills people and all that kind of stuff, it's almost identical to the way that Michael Myers did it. And the fact that he barely spoke, I mean, come on. It's not just the fact that Arnold Schwarzenegger barely spoke English at the time. Although that would be a very good reason why. He found further critical and commercial success with Aliens in 1986, The Abyss in 1989, Terminator 2 Judgment Day in 1991, and the comedy thriller True Lies in 1994. Now, if you were a 90s kid and you don't know any of these movies that I just mentioned, like, so disappointed in you right now. What the hell did you do with your life? Study? Become a doctor? Like, shame on you. His other big budget productions include Titanic in 1997 and Avatar in 2009, with the former earning him Academy Awards in Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Film Editing. Avatar, filmed in 3D technology, also garnered him film nominations in the same categories. I'll be honest with you guys, a lot of people said bad stuff about Avatar when it came out, but they don't understand. Avatar, for me, as a film student at the time, was something that showed me that movies are a whole other ballgame now. I mean, just the fact that James Cameron had to invent a new camera that had dual lenses and that can film natively in 3D is already something that's just, it blew my mind as a film student. And on top of that, the way that they filmed it is kind of the way that they would motion capture and do all that stuff for video games. But it was a big Hollywood movie. And I remember lining up for 2 hours just to be able to, I've already paid for my ticket and I was still lining up for 2 hours just to be able to go in and actually watch the movie. Like, epic, epic. In addition to filmmaking, he is a National Geographic sea explorer and has produced a number of documentaries on the subject, including Ghosts of the Abyss in 2003 and Aliens of the Deep in 2005. In 2012, Cameron became the first person to perform a solo descent to the bottom of the Mariana Trench, the deepest part of the Earth's ocean, in the Deep Sea Challenger submersible. Yo, if anyone out there has ever watched Planet Earth and you know what a vampire squid is, you know that that stuff lives deep underwater. This man went to the deepest part of the Earth's ocean in this thing. That's right. This little McDonald's toy looking thing is what he used. He went all the way to the bottom, and the fact that Avatar 2 is supposed to be all about like underwater stuff, and he's seen stuff that I think that other humans have never even seen, they just heard about, like, I can only expect the best. In total, James Cameron's films have grossed approximately $2 billion in the North American market and $6 billion worldwide. Avatar and Titanic are the second and third highest grossing films of all time, earning 2.78 billion and 2.19 billion respectively. As of 2020, James Cameron holds the achievement of having directed the first two of the 5 films in history to gross over $2 billion worldwide. In 2010, Time magazine named James Cameron as one of the 100 most influential people in the world. Legendary. Next on our list, we have Alfred Hitchcock. Sir Alfred Joseph Hitchcock was an English film director, producer, and screenwriter. He is one of the most influential and extensively studied filmmakers in the history of cinema. Known as the master of suspense, he directed over 50 feature films in a career spanning 6 decades, becoming as well known as any of his actors thanks to his many interviews, his cameo roles in his films, and hosting and producing of the television anthology Alfred Hitchcock Presents. His films garnered a total of 46 Oscar nominations and 6 wins. Born in Leytonstone, London, Hitchcock entered the film industry in 1919 as a title card designer after training as a technical clerk and a copywriter for a telegraph cable company. He made his directorial debut with the British-German silent film The Pleasure Garden in 1925. His first successful film, The Lodger, a story of the London fog in 1927, helped to shape the thriller genre, while his 1929 film, Blackmail, was the first British talkie. And for those of you who don't know what a talkie is, a talkie was basically at the time a new thing that had come out because up until that point, all the movies were silent. They either just had like a title card that would pop up with a whole bunch of text, or they would just be, that guy on his piano or whatever, and he'd be just playing a soundtrack to that. So a talkie is basically, a film where they actually talked. And it's crazy to think they actually had a term for that back then. Two of his 1930s thrillers, The 39 Steps and The Lady Vanishes, are ranked among the greatest British films of the 20th century. By 1939, Hitchcock was a filmmaker of international importance, and film producer David Selznick persuaded him to move to Hollywood. A string of successful films followed, including Rebecca, Foreign Correspondent, Suspicion, Shadow of a Doubt, and Notorious. Rebecca won the Academy Award for Best Picture, although Hitchcock himself was only nominated as Best Director. He was also nominated for Lifeboat in 1944 and Spellbound in 1945, although he never won the Best Director Academy Award. After a brief lull of commercial successes in the 1940s, Hitchcock returned to form with Strangers on a Train and Dial M for Murder. By 1960, Hitchcock had directed 4 films often ranked among the greatest of all time: Rear Window in 1954, Vertigo in 1958, North by Northwest in 1959, and Psycho in 1960, the first and the last of these garnering him the Best Director nominations. In 2012, Vertigo replaced Orson Welles' Citizen Kane as the British Film Institute's greatest film ever, based on its worldwide poll of hundreds of film critics. By 2018, 8 of his films had been selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry, including his personal favorite, Shadow of a Doubt. He received the BAFTA Fellowship in 1971, the AFI Life Achievement Award in 1979, and was knighted in December of that year, 4 months before he died. There's a reason why they called Alfred Hitchcock the master of suspense. That classic scene of Psycho where you just see the knife kind of going up and he opens the bathroom door and it's that dee, 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 dee. Like, he literally invented that. Until that time, there was no one else who utilized sound so well in films until Alfred Hitchcock came around. And the way that this guy utilized the camera is as if it was just like an extension of his body. Not that extension of his body. Next on our list, we have Quentin Tarantino. Quentin Jerome Tarantino is an American film director, screenwriter, producer, and actor. His films are characterized by nonlinear storylines, excessive use of violence, extended scenes of dialogue, ensemble casts, references to popular culture, and a wide variety of other films' soundtracks, primarily containing songs and score pieces from the 1960s to the 1980s, alternate history, and features of neo-noir film. He began his career as an independent filmmaker with the release of Reservoir Dogs in 1992, which was actually funded by the money from the sale of his screenplay, True Romance, in 1993. If you guys haven't seen True Romance, by the way, make sure you check it out. If you tell my brother you haven't seen True Romance, he'll probably force you to watch it. It is a twisted story. It's amazing. It's a love story like you wouldn't imagine. Tarantino style, I should say. Make sure you guys check that one out. Empire magazine hailed Reservoir Dogs as the greatest independent film of all time. His second film, Pulp Fiction in 1994, was a major success both among critics and audiences. He also wrote the screenplay for the horror film From Dusk Till Dawn in 1996, in which he also starred. And that's the one where Selma Hayek gives one hell of a performance, let's just call it that. Tarantino paid homage to the blaxploitation films of the 1970s with Jackie Brown in 1997, an adaptation of Eleanor Leonard's novel Rum Punch. He also wrote and directed Kill Bill, a highly stylized revenge flick in the cinematic traditions of kung fu films, Japanese martial arts, and spaghetti westerns. This film was released as two films, Volume 1 in 2003 and Volume 2 in 2004. Tarantino next directed the exploitation slasher film Death Proof in 2007 as part of a double feature with Robert Rodriguez. His long-postponed Inglourious Basterds, which tells an alternate history of Nazi Germany, was released in 2009 to critical acclaim. He followed that with another critical success, Django Unchained, in 2012, a western set in the antebellum South. His eighth film, The Hateful Eight, in 2015, was released in its roadshow version in 70mm film format, with opening overture and halfway point intermission. His ninth film, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, an alternate history of the Tate LaBianca murders, was released in 2019. Tarantino's films have garnered both critical and commercial success, as well as a dedicated cult following. He has received many industry awards, including 2 Academy Awards, 2 BAFTA Awards, 4 Golden Globe Awards, and the Palme d'Or, and has even been nominated for an Emmy and 5 Grammys. In 2005, he was included on the annual Time 100 list of the most influential people in the world. In 2015, Tarantino received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame for his contributions to the film industry. Fun fact about Quentin Tarantino, he actually goes that next level to not use CGI. He's the kind of person that would rather have a really expensive car, buy it once, blow it up, and lose that money than to just pay someone CGI to have that car go. So if you guys ever watch any of his movies and you guys see a car chase, he is literally racing 2 cars down the line, and someone is filming that. In Death Proof, when there's that person on the front of the car, like she's really doing that. It's absolutely amazing. Another fun fact about Quentin Tarantino, he absolutely loves feet. Pretty much in all of his movies, you will see some kind of feet.
I want to thank my co-stars, Leo, Margot Robbie's feet, Margaret Qualley's feet, Dakota Fanning's feet. Seriously, Quentin has separated more women from their shoes than the TSA. Gotcha.
Next on our list, we have Martin Scorsese. Martin Charles Scorsese is an Italian film director, producer, screenwriter, and actor. One of the major figures in the new Hollywood era, he is widely regarded as one of the most significant and influential directors in film history. Scorsese's body of work explores themes such as Italian-American identity, Catholic concepts of guilt and redemption, faith, machismo, crime, and tribalism. Many of his films are known for their depiction of violence and their liberal use of profanity in rock music. Scorsese studied at New York University, where he received a bachelor's degree in English literature in 1964 and received a Master of Fine Arts in Film at NYU's Tisch School for the Arts in 1966. In 1967, Scorsese's first feature film, Who's That Knocking at My Door, was released and was accepted to the Chicago Film Festival, where critic Roger Ebert saw it and called it a marvelous evocation of American city life, announcing the arrival of an important new director. Scorsese's mentors included John Cassavetes, whose chatty, improvisational style did much to influence Scorsese's script and production work, and who told him to make films about what you know. In 1971, Scorsese moved to Hollywood, where he associated with some of the young directors who defined the decade, including Steven Spielberg, Francis Ford Coppola, Brian De Palma, and George Lucas. He directed Boxcar Bertha in 1972, a cut-rate Depression-era film for Roger Corman, and Mean Streets in 1973, a personal film about faith and redemption shot in Little Italy, starring Harvey Keitel and Robert De Niro. He has established a filmmaking history involving repeat collaborations with actors and film technicians, including 9 films made with Robert De Niro. His films with De Niro are vigilante thriller Taxi Driver, 1976, the biographical sports drama Raging Bull, 1980, the black comedy The King of Comedy, 1982, the musical drama New York, New York, 1977, the psychological thriller Cape Fear in 1991, and the crime films Mean Streets 1973, Goodfellas in 1990, Casino in 1995, and The Irishman in 2019. Scorsese has also been noted for his successful collaborations with actor Leonardo DiCaprio, having directed him in 5 films: the historical epic Gangs of New York in 2012, the Howard Hughes biography The Aviator in 2004, the crime thriller The Departed in 2006, the psychological thriller Shutter Island in 2010, and the Wall Street black comedy The Wolf of Wall Street in 2013. And honestly, if you haven't seen The Wolf of Wall Street yet, like, once again, what are you doing with your life? Studying? Just go watch that movie. You got Leonardo DiCaprio, you got Jonah Hill, you got a whole bunch of funny ass. Like, it's so funny and yet so Scorsese at the same time. The Departed won Scorsese the Academy Award for Best Director, in addition to winning the award for Best Picture. Scorsese is also known for his longtime collaboration with film editor Thelma Schoonmaker, who has edited every single movie Scorsese has made from the beginning, starting with Raging Bull. Now that is loyalty, man. Every single movie that Scorsese has made since Raging Bull has been edited by this person. Like, insane. Scorsese's other film work includes the black comedy After Hours in 1985, the romantic drama The Age of Innocence in 1993, the historical adventure drama Hugo in 2011, and the religious epics The Last Temptation of Christ 1988, Kundun in 1997, and Silence in 2016. With 9 nominations for the Academy Award for Best Director, Scorsese is the most nominated living director and is second only to William Wyler's 12 nominations overall. In 2007, Scorsese was presented with the Kennedy Center Honor at the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts for his influence in American culture. He also received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 2003, a British Film Institute Fellowship in 1995, and a BAFTA Fellowship in 2012. Scorsese is also a recipient of the AFI Life Achievement Award for his contributions to the cinema and has won an Academy Award, a Palme d'Or, a Cannes Film Festival Award, a Silver Lion, a Grammy Award, 3 Primetime Emmys, 3 Golden Globe Awards, 3 BAFTA Awards, and 2 Directors Guild of America Awards. Scorsese is also known for his work in television, including directing the pilot episodes of HBO series Boardwalk Empire and Vinyl, the latter which he also co-created. Like, Martin Scorsese is so epic. If you haven't seen Goodfellas, Casino, any of these movies, again, I strongly recommend them. Goodfellas is probably one of my favorite, I'd say top 3 movies of all time.
Let me understand this, because maybe it's me, I'm a little fucked up, maybe. But I'm funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you? I make you laugh? I'm here to fucking amuse you? What do you mean funny? Funny how? How am I funny?
Last but definitely not least, we have Stanley Kubrick. Stanley Kubrick was an American film director, producer, screenwriter, and photographer. He is frequently cited as one of the greatest filmmakers in cinematic history. His films, which are mostly adaptations of novels or short stories, cover a wide range of genres and are noted for their realism, dark humor, unique cinematography, extensive set designs, and evocative use of music. Kubrick was raised in the Bronx, New York City, and attended William Howard Taft High School from 1941 to 1945. He received average grades but displayed a keen interest in literature, photography, and film from a young age, and taught himself all aspects of film production and directing after graduating from high school. After working as a photographer for Look magazine in the late 1940s and early 50s, he began making short films on a shoestring budget and made his first major Hollywood film, The Killing, for United Artists in 1956. This was followed by 2 collaborations with Kirk Douglas, the war picture Paths of Glory in 1957, and the historical epic Spartacus in 1960. Creative differences arising from his work with Douglas and the film studios, a dislike of the Hollywood industry, and a growing concern about crime in America prompted Kubrick to move to the United Kingdom in 1961, where he spent most of the remainder of his life and career. Now that's something you don't hear all the time. Most of these directors started other places and then moved to Hollywood. This guy is like, yo, Hollywood is a piece of crap. I'm going to move back to the United Kingdom. That's something you don't always hear, right? His home at Childwickbury Manor in Hertfordshire, which he shared with his wife Christiane, became his workplace, where he did his writing, research, editing, and management of production details. This allowed him to have almost complete artistic control over his films, but with the rare advantage of having financial support from major Hollywood studios. His first productions in Britain were 2 films with Peter Sellers, Lolita and Dr. Strangelove. A demanding perfectionist, Kubrick assumed control over most aspects of the filmmaking process, from direction and writing to editing, and took painstakingly care with researching his films and staging scenes, working in close coordination with his actors and other collaborators. He often asked for several dozen retakes of the same shot in a movie, which resulted in many conflicts with his cast. Despite the resulting notoriety among actors, many of Kubrick's films broke new ground in cinematography. The scientific realism and innovative special effects for 2001 A Space Odyssey, filmed back in 1968, were without a precedent in the history of cinema, and the film earned Stanley Kubrick his only personal Oscar for Best Visual Effects. Steven Spielberg has referred to the film as his generation's Big Bang. It is regarded as one of the greatest films ever made. For the 18th century period film Barry Lyndon, Kubrick obtained lenses developed by Zeiss for NASA to film scenes under natural candlelight. With The Shining in 1980, he became one of the first directors to make use of a Steadicam for stabilized and fluid tracking shots. A perfect example of this in The Shining is, that classic scene where the kid's on this tricycle, he's like on his little bicycle thing, and he's going, and the camera is just following him down. Imagine doing that before DJI had their Osmo this and their Ronin that, and it's like, yo, now this is a technology where pretty much if you don't film with one of these, like, what are you doing? But this was something back then that was groundbreaking. While many of Kubrick's films were controversial and initially received mixed reviews upon release, particularly A Clockwork Orange in 1971, which Kubrick pulled from circulation in the UK following a mass media frenzy, most were nominated for Oscars, Golden Globes, or BAFTA awards and underwent critical re-evaluations. His last film, Eyes Wide Shut, was completed shortly before his death in 1999 at the age of 70, starring Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. If you think about that, this guy literally was such a perfectionist that he would go and get lenses from NASA just so he can film with candlelight. In 2001 Space Odyssey, if you watch that, there was no special effects back then. Computers weren't even really a thing back in 1968. And when you see those spaceships flying, well, you tell me how they did that. Another perfect example of Stanley Kubrick's, perfectionism is that classic scene in The Shining where Jack Nicholson is kind of like axing through the door and he says like, "Here's Johnny." They did that, I think, for 2 days or like 60 takes or something like that before he said, "Cut, I like that one." Got to give it up to someone like that. They know exactly what they're doing to the T. There's a reason why he wants you to redo it and redo it. It's because it's absolutely crazy. And A Clockwork Orange, if you haven't seen that movie, there's every single one of these directors has pop culture references that you'll see in other movies, but at least now you'll know where it actually came from. The more you know, the more it grows. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was the episode for this week. I hope you guys had some fun. If you guys learned something new, as always, please make sure to mention that down below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video, comment, share, do all that good stuff. And I'll be back soon with something else completely random. So ladies and gentlemen, as always, my name is Arya Habibi. Peace out.